You know, all the cotton farmers on here know what I'm talking about. Ain't nothing better than the smell of the foliage in the fall. Now let's get some cotton ready to pick. Alright, I'm out here by myself today. Kelly's sick with the COVID, and so anyway, what I'm doing today is getting started on cotton defoliation. We got about 90 acres right now that is ready to defoliate, and Cotton Scout's checking some more, so we might wind up spraying more, but I know right now we're going to spray 90 of our 485 acres today. And what I'm talking about is when we're defoliating, what we're doing is we're preparing the cotton plant for harvest. And what the defoliation does is we're trying to get the plant to shed all of its leaves and open up all of its bolls so we can make one trip through the cotton field with our cotton picker and get all of the cotton. You know, because cotton is an indeterminate plant, you know, it starts putting on fruit at the bottom and then adding fruit going up the stalk throughout the growing season. So all the bolls on the plant are not the same maturity. It'll start opening up on the bottom, and then the opening will progress up the plant. But this can take quite a bit of time, and since how we're here at the end of September, first part of October, a whole lot cooler out here. Cotton is not maturing near as quickly as it does when it's hot, so we got to give the plant a little bit of help to promote earliness and make sure we get our cotton harvested in a timely manner with one trip before a lot of bad weather hits that can cause damage to the fiber quality and yield. Anyway, what we got here is several types of defoliants. Our first one that we're going with is Folex. That's the one that's got the great smell, in my opinion. A lot of people, a lot of city folks will find it kind of obnoxious, but cotton farmers, at least this cotton farmer, really likes it. And what it is it's a herbicide that when we spray it on the plant, it damages the leaf just enough that the plant sheds that leaf. Doesn't kill the plant or anything, but it causes it to shed the leaf. Put too much on there, it will actually kill the leaf, and then the leaf will stick to the plant. So we want the leaves to actually fall off. And we're putting out Folex at a rate of 4 ounces per acre. Then we've also got Adios down here, which is another herbicidal defoliant. It's got a little bit different mode of action, and it also causes the leaves to shed, but it's got another component in there that discourages the plant from regrowing, because the cotton plant's not dead. When it sheds its leaves, it wants to start putting out more growth in the top and keep on adding yield, which, I mean, there's no chance of adding more yield at this point in the year. And those real young green leaves that the cotton plant tries to put on can actually stain the lint when the cotton picker goes through there. So we want to discourage any kind of regrowth. Then over here we got Finish Pro 6, putting that out at a rate of 16 ounces per acre, and it's got another regrowth chemical in it. But the biggest component of that is ethifon, and ethifon is a naturally occurring hormone in plants that signals the plant to mature out. But what we're doing is we're adding extra ethifon to the plant to go ahead and trigger the plant to mature out and opening up. It's actually a common chemical that's used on several crops, you know, not just cotton. I think it's used on tobacco and maybe apples and other stuff that need a little help ripening, and that's what it does. And over here, this is what we'll spray on our second pass, which is straight ethifon. You know, the goal of the first pass of spraying is to get as many of the leaves off the plant as we can, expose those bolls to the sun, and then after probably 5 to 7 days, we'll come back at the second trip, spraying ethifon, and and all those bolls will be exposed for the ethifon to land on those bolls, which will promote ripening, and then those bolls opening up. Anyway, let's get a load mixed up, and we'll hit the field. We also put a new sight glass on our sprayer today where we can actually see the tank level. It's the little things in life. It really is. The little things that put a smile on your face. Nate over here, he's cleaning the rest of the cover crop seed out of the drill, getting it all cleaned out so we can plant wheat in about a week and a half or so after we get our early beans cut. And then earlier today, he working on getting the corn head cleaned up, getting it blown off real good and ready for the wash pad. And it looks like he got it pretty well blown off good. Guess it's gonna be ready for the wash pad here. All right, enough showing you what he's doing. I know y'all really want to see that cotton. All right, before we get started spraying, just want to give you a quick look-see on what the cotton actually looks like right now. All right, you can see some white down through the canopy a little bit. Looks like the cotton's about opening up about halfway up the plant naturally. Now you can see these bottom bolls, you know, they were the first ones to bloom. They're the first ones to mature. Then as you go up the plant here, see on this node we've got a boll that's just cracked. Then these up here in the top, you know, that's what we're going to try and open artificially. Because if we were to wait for these bolls up here to open them by themselves, I mean, they might not ever open by themselves. A frost might hit this before these bolls crack on the seams, and then they might not ever open. So that's why we're coming in here with the defoliant. We want to get all of these leaves to fall off to where we just got bare stalk, and then on our second pass we can come back and get all of our Ethifon on the bolls real good, promote them to open up. I want to show you how we check maturity of the crop. We look at our uppermost harvestable bolls that we think can actually contribute to yield. And I don't know if this one will. This one's kind of small, but we'll start off with this one. This one is the topmost boll on the plant, so it's the most recent one to bloom. And then we'll take a sharp knife and cut it in half. I don't have a sharp knife. Semi-sharp. And so it's cutting through there fairly easily. There's still quite a bit of moisture in this boll, but what we're looking at is the seed. Where I cut through the seeds, you can see the cotyledons in there forming, but there's still just a tiny bit of jelly there in the center of the seed where it's not fully formed. So ideally we'd like to give this cotton, you know, another couple days, but with temperatures dropping and predicted to keep on dropping, you know, every day that we delay defoliation now could mean, you know, 2 to 3 days later start and actually harvesting the cotton, because the cooler it gets, the slower the defoliants work. And, you know, so we got to get started sometime. And what we don't want to do, we've got an awesome bottom crop. We got some big bolls on the bottom. That's the ones that really contribute to yield. These smaller bolls on the top, I mean, they do contribute to yield some, but not near as much as the bottom ones. So what we don't want is this cotton standing out here any longer than possible, trying to get, you know, these small bolls to mature out to gain a few more pounds, when ultimately by doing that we'll actually lose more yield, because these bottom bolls are sitting out here longer and longer and being exposed to more weather. So, you know, defoliating cotton is really kind of an inexact science. You know, it depends on the maturity of the crop, depends on the weather you get after you defoliate it. So it's more of an art form than actual science, even though there is a lot of science behind it. So they said if this were, say, probably a week ago, yeah, I'd probably give this another day or two. But with our labor situation and the amount of cotton we're going to have to pick this year, because it's going to be slow going on picking as big as the yield's going to be out here, we really need to go ahead and get the ball rolling, because you know, the sooner we can get done, probably the more we'll yield and the higher quality we'll have.
See, that right there, that's how a cotton boll opens up. It splits along the seams and the holes, and then it just, after a few days, it just kind of opens up like a flower.
And then we got some bolls up here that were really late blooming. Like, we'll never get that boll right there open. It's not even close to being mature or full size. And I mean, there's not going to be enough, there's not enough growing season to mature it back out anyway. So we'll still have a few bolls out here. Well, we just kind of really got to make a good educated guess on what we think the topmost harvestable boll will be, and then judge our maturity on it that way. And also, if you watched this long, stay tuned to the end. What I'm going to try to do right here is something I've wanted to do for a while but haven't been able to do. I'm going to try and get a drone time lapse going of going through the field, but I'm gonna be doing it every day and then stitching them together to show the, you know, the cotton actually defoliating and opening up over probably about a 2-week period. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. If it works out like I got it played with him, but mine, it's gonna look pretty dang cool. In reality though, I don't know if I got the editing skills to be able to make it work. But anyway, I'll have that at the end of this video.
This is what we were afraid of. This is what you expect when a catastrophic hurricane comes ashore. But we've got houses floating off of their foundations.
Golly, Bill.
This is just moments ago in the Fort Myers area.
And not only are we defoliating cotton, we got Ryan Hall on the YouTubes. Today's the day that Hurricane Ian is actually making landfall, and man, what they're showing is, it's devastating, and the eye is still just right offshore. But Kelly's parents have a condo on Fort Myers Beach, and that's where Kelly and I and the kids go, you know, every July on vacation. And it looks like Naples and Coral Springs, Fort Myers is getting the worst of the brunt. Not necessarily wind, but the storm surge is just absolutely phenomenal from what we're seeing. I'm like water like 5 to 10 feet deep over the entire island. The damage is just, Lord, I ask you just to be with everybody that's still down there in Florida. Lord, I ask that you protect them. And Lord, I ask that you give the people that live in that area, you give them the strength that they need to rebuild. Lord, I ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. I know it's going to be, you know, I know Ian's going to be long gone by the time y'all see this video, but those folks down there are still going to need a lot of prayers. If you will, please say a prayer for them to help them get along. God hears all prayers, and I'm sure the folks in that area will most definitely appreciate your prayers. Not only one of my other duties while we're defoliating, not just spray the cotton, but also keep our eye out for any pigweeds that's out here. I thought I pretty much got them all cleaned up, but I saw just a couple scattered here, and they're probably mature, got seed head on them, so we want to get them out of the field before they decide they want to drop their seeds on the ground. Then I got to fight them for the next 3 to 4 years. Yeah, it is a female right here, and she's probably close to having some mature seeds. Remove her from the field. Get all these other little stragglers too. Zero tolerance. That is the only way to fight these devils. Alright, we'll throw you off here in the kudzu. Kudzu's about the only thing more aggressive than a pigweed. See those pigweeds try to come up through all that kudzu next year. We'll have a mighty hard time of it. Alright, well, we just got done with our first farm and got filled up with enough chemicals to do our second farm. We're going to ease on down the road over here to Ellington. Got about 30 acres. That'll finish us up for today. Got the report from my cotton scout. That's going to be all we're going to do until probably Sunday, about another 3-4 days. Then we'll start back. We'll defoliate a little more. A couple days later, we'll defoliate a little more. Just, we don't want to get it all ready at one time, and some of our later cotton, we want to give it as much time as we can to fill out bowls. No sense in blowing it open now and then having it sit out there for 3 to 4 weeks before we can pick it. And then hopefully, probably, maybe Monday, more likely probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we'll come back and we'll come back with our second shot on what we're spraying today. Just try and get as much sprayed as what our harvest pace is going to go to where whenever we get there ready to pick it, that's just when it got ready to be picked, and it's just not sitting out there collecting a bunch of weather. Well, that's got today wrapped up. actually had to run all the way back to the shop to get a little splash of chemical. I ran like an acre short, and it was the greenest cotton on the farm. So anyway, go ahead and mark your calendars. My goal is 14 days from today, we'll be firing that picker up. Probably won't be 14 days, probably be a little bit longer, because we'll probably have a cloudy day or two, might have some rain, slow it down a little bit. But that's what my target is anyway. And man, I can't wait to start blowing some cotton up in that basket. We definitely going to have to bring both module builders out this year. I don't know what our final average is going to be, but I'm kind of expected to be somewhere above 1,200 pounds. And I don't expect to have any field averages below, I'm gonna say 1,100. 1,000 might be a little bit more realistic. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say 1,100 pounds. Anyway, I'll bring you back here in a few days when we start, when we come back, make our second pass on this and start spraying some new fields. All right, we're out here in the first cotton field that we defoliated 6 days ago. We sprayed it on Wednesday afternoon, and it's now Tuesday morning. It's out here checking it, seeing if it's ready for the second pass of defoliation. And I mean, just looking out across there, I mean, to the untrained eye, it probably really doesn't look a whole lot different than what we sprayed. And you're probably thinking, well, your chemicals really didn't work. But trust me, they did. Now, if you look up here at the tops of the plants, you see a whole lot more bolls exposed here on the top of the plants. And then looking down here on the ground, you see all of these green leaves. All of that is what was just recently shed by the cotton plant. And as you can tell, that those leaves were not dead, but we just damaged them enough that the plant had to abort them to get them off because they were no longer functional. And even though this cotton still really looks green out here, you can tell, all those leaves came from the top part of the plant. But then if you look on down in the canopy, you still see some green leaves there. Because there were so many leaves here, the spray was not able to really penetrate and get down to the bottom of the plant. And that's why we have to do a 2-pass defoliation, because it seems like we're growing ranker and ranker cotton as we get, our soil health increase. The cotton just doesn't want to shut down and naturally shed a lot of these leaves. So we're having to do a 2-pass defoliation, one to kind of get the top layer of leaves off, and then come back with a second pass so we can penetrate fully down into the plant, plus also expose a lot of these bolls so we can get the maximum rate of ethylene on them to get them to open up. And as you can tell, there's a lot of bolls here that need to open up. But what the defoliation process is, I say we damage the leaf just enough, and then you come over here, so you just barely touch the leaf and it falls off. We get a nice windy day, a lot more of these leaves will come off. As it is, it shed a lot of them naturally. You just hear that snap, and you see it just falls right off. Whereas we get down here lower in the canopy where the defoliant really didn't work, well, make me a liar, that one just came right off. And see, that one's wanting to stay attached right there. Finally come off. There's nothing more satisfying than just coming out here to the cotton field and just doing that. Leaves just coming right off. So the two products we're going to come back with today is, first one is ET, and it's a herbicide, and it'll help the rest of these leaves shed off, plus also keep any new growth from forming up here in the top terminals, which we don't want, which could stain the lint as the picker runs through it and cause quality reductions. And then the second one we're coming back with is Ethifon, which is the hormone, and we'll get a nice coating on all these bolls, and that will promote maturity and get these bolls to open up, hopefully within about the next 7 days. And then what I'm hoping is that by Wednesday of next week, we'll be bringing a picker in here and making one pass through here and getting all of this good cotton. So satisfying. I could just stand out here all day and do this. Okay, to show you how boll maturity works, I'll pick the most uppermost bowl here on the plant that hopefully might be harvestable. And then I'll pick one lower down on the plant that hasn't started opening up yet. That one's cracked. There's not one on that branch. So let's do the first position down here and then go back to my truck and we'll cut these open and see how mature they are and whether the Ethifon will actually open them up or not. All right, just looking at these two bowls here, the one on the left was the lower down in the canopy about halfway up the plant, and then this one here on the right was the very topmost position bowl that we had. And if you look at them, hopefully you can tell the difference. The one lower in the canopy is bigger than the one in the top. It means this one right here has got more cotton in it, and the risk we run by trying to make sure every bowl is mature and we can open up before we pick is that, well, if we try to save this cotton right here to where we can harvest it, the cotton lower down in the canopy, which is more of this, is going to be subject to a lot of weathering, rain, and whatever. And ultimately, by trying to gain more yield by getting these top positions mature, overall you can actually lose yield because the bigger bowls with the more cotton down in the canopy is weathering and losing weight every single day that it's open. So that's kind of where we get into this is more of an art than a science. You know, we got to look at what time of year we're at, the predicted weather. You know, is the cotton maturing rapidly, or does this cotton want to sit out here, you know, say another 7 days to get this to mature out while all the rest of it is mature? You know, that's the questions that we face, and we have to make some hard decisions ultimately on when the best time for maximum yield and fiber quality is going to be when we defoliate cotton. All right, so we're going to, the best way to judge this is to slice a bowl in half. This is the bowl that is lower down in the canopy, the one that should be more mature. And I've got a reasonably sharp knife, and you know, it's kind of tough to cut across this. In fact, I don't know if I'll be able to cut all the way across without slicing my finger off. All right, and then we got the less mature one from the top of the plant. All right, definitely easier to cut across, definitely more water coming out of the bowl as I cut it. All right, and then here we go. Lower down the canopy, very top of the canopy. I don't know if y'all can tell it, but you can tell these seeds are mature. We're starting to get a dark ring around the seed coat. Cotyledons are fully formed. So while this cotton still has moisture in it, it's not a whole lot of moisture. So this bowl is pretty much fully mature. Ethifon should open it up just fine. Now looking at the one from the top, definitely a lot less mature. A lot more water in here. You know, these fibers still got a whole lot of moisture. You look at the seed, you know, there's no dark ring around the seed coat. We do have cotyledons starting to form, but if you dig down in here, there's still some jelly in the middle of the seed. Like that right there. Now it's very, very questionable if I'll be able to open up this one with Ethifon because it's just not mature enough. We're going to do our best, but there's no guarantee. So there's a very good chance, I'd say probably an 80+% chance that this bowl will never open up because we stopped the plant from maturing or doing anything else. You know, what we've got is what we've got. So this bowl likely will not mature. And so here's another glance at them side by side. Hopefully you'll be able to tell the difference. Mature, not mature. Will definitely open up, most likely will not open up. But after looking at that, even though this top bowl won't mature, it's far enough along that the bowl on the position beneath it, I think will be mature enough that it will actually open up, because this one doesn't like very much. You know, it likes, you know, probably 4 to 5 days of being mature, whereas the bowl in the position beneath it, lower down in the plant, the next highest harvestable bowl, you know, it bloomed, it bloomed about 3 to 4 days earlier, so it's likely accumulated enough heat units that it's mature. So really the only thing we're losing by going here defoliating now is maybe this uppermost position bowl that's really not going to contribute a whole lot to yield anyway, but because it's quickly getting cooler and it's taking these defoliants longer to work, you know, by defoliating 2 or 3 days before all of it's mature, could mean that we can actually start picking, you know, a week to 10 days earlier, because the farther we get into October, the longer it's going to take the defoliants to work, plus you're running into the risk of weather delays and stuff like that. So is gaining an extra week of harvesting weather by starting 7 days earlier, is it worth losing this topmost position boll that's really not going to contribute to the yield? Yes, definitely, because most likely if we were to wait another 7 days, then you know, ultimately we could wind up losing yield, because of all of the rest of the cotton that's open and ready to be picked in the field is losing yield every day just due to weathering. So anyway, we're going to come back in here today. We're going to get our second shot, and hopefully the weather will, and hopefully the temperatures will be mild enough that hopefully about 7 days from now, we can start picking some cotton. Like I said earlier, you know, we're out here making our second shot on the first that we defoliated. And this cotton is progressing along pretty nicely. Some spots, like you get on top of the hills, the ground's thinner, you know, it's definitely a whole lot farther along. You know, not all that far away from being ready to pick. Just got a few more leaves to shed and a few more of those top bolls to open, and then you get like down in the deeper soils, definitely a lot greener. Well, not really green, but definitely a lot more brown. And it's going to take a little while longer before it is all ready. You know, we've had 5 days of some really some cool temperatures. Highs in the low to mid 70s, lows in the upper 40s to low 50s, and kind of slowed this defoliation process down. But it's still coming along nicely. But today is pretty warm, and I think it's supposed to be fairly warm for the next couple days. You know, somewhere high around 80 in the low 80s, with lows you know, in the high 50s to low 60s, and that'll really help speed up this defoliation process. A couple days ago on Sunday, I defoliated another 110 acres with our first pass, and then the rest of it still needs a few more days before we go along with our first pass. But what we're trying to do is just kind of stage our cotton. You know, we don't want it all ready at the same time, because with the yields we're expecting this year, you know, if we do 50 acres on a day, that's going to be a heck of a day. So, you know, we don't want all 500 acres all ready at the same time. So this kind of lets us stagger it out to where our later cotton's still building yield, but we hope to get it ready just about the time we're ready to pull into the field with the picker. But anyway, I think I've described the defoliation process about as good as I can. You know, I'm not going to bore you with any more springing videos on this. I think y'all got a pretty good idea of how the process works, and now all we need some time, then we'll get to the stuff you really want to see. So that old cotton picker firing up. But anyway, as promised, I'm now going to switch to that drone time lapse of the cotton defoliating. I hope it turned out kind of like what I pictured in my mind. So anyway, y'all stick around and watch that, and I'll go ahead and close out the video. See y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.